Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to The Bunker. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from an anonymous caller. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Hello, Lloyd. First of all, I would just like to say thank you so much for all of your videos. The time and effort that you take into them has been greatly appreciated by my husband and I. They have played a huge part in helping solidify our decision to leave the witnesses. A little backstory on us: in 2018, we found out that my stepdaughter, my husband's daughter from his first marriage, was being sexually assaulted by her stepdad and biological mother from the age of 6 until she was nearly 12, which is when she told us what was going on. And very quickly after that came out, and after we went to the police, the witness family that we had, the two bodies of elders that we had gone to regarding the situation, all very quickly distanced themselves and basically ghosted us as a family almost immediately after finding out that the police were involved. Meanwhile, still offering full support to the biological mother and her husband, because they were going to meetings and saying basically that our daughter was a liar. And once the police were involved, the elders offered no support, no phone calls, no contact. My father-in-law is an elder, and he and his wife quickly distanced themselves from us immediately also, which led us to do further research into the organization itself, thinking, that there obviously was something wrong with us and we weren't understanding the policies well, which opened up, the floodwaters to the truth about the truth. And then in 2018, we decided we could no longer continue attending the meetings, and we just basically stopped cold turkey, discovered your videos, fully woke up and made our commitment that we were not going back. But we have not been disfellowshipped. We have not disassociated. And that's kind of why I'm reaching out to you, because I'm very torn about where we stand currently, because I don't want to have any connection or any association to the witnesses. My mother is still an active believing witness who hasn't shunned us. She is pretty much the only believing family member who has not cut us off and does not shun us. But she has made it clear that if we were to start doing holidays or things like that, she would have to distance herself. But part of me is like, we've successfully faded, walked away. None of them care enough about us to come after us. But it disgusts me knowing that we're on their books and that we are technically still considered members, if just inactive members. But I'm very torn with the thought of disassociating, just because the announcement is made the same way it's made for a disfellowshipped person. And I feel like that's giving them some sort of satisfaction with their labeling of us. I think that if it was this person has chosen to no longer be a witness, I think I would immediately write a letter. But I'm just kind of curious, what your opinion is, especially for a family that has successfully completely faded. Is there, a need to do that next step? I don't really know. I guess I just kind of want to know your opinion regarding a successful fade, and is it worth taking the time to go back and make that final stance? or not. But anyway, I appreciate all of your help and all of your videos, and thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. And more importantly, thank you for that incredible message. Wow. Doesn't this just highlight, viewers, what this organization is all about? In their literature and in their policy documents, they say, oh, well, we would never dissuade someone from reporting to the police. It's your call. It's your choice. It's entirely the right of the parents or the victim to report to the police. Look what happens. Look what happens when abuse gets reported. Look at how the congregation, including the elders, have treated this family appallingly and thrown them under the bus. That's the reality. And they can put these excuses, they can put these fake narratives in their literature as much as they like. But this, unfortunately, is how things are on the ground. And I just want to thank you for doing the right thing, the responsible thing, acting straight away and saying, you know what? The police need to be notified. This individual needs to be brought to the attention of law enforcement because other children are in danger. Thank you for doing the right thing, even though, I mean, you probably didn't know there would be these consequences, but you did the right thing irrespective of what was going to happen. And wow, thank you so much for doing that. In terms of your question, you're essentially asking, should we fade or disassociate? Should we disavow the religion in the form of a letter so that we're making things official? We're making how we already feel official? Or should we stay below the radar as effectively still members of the congregation, albeit inactive, so that we can have contact with your Jehovah's Witness mother? I can't tell you. I can't give you an answer to that because I'm not in your shoes. The question of to fade or not to fade, to disassociate or not to disassociate, is always going to be an incredibly personal decision because it has big consequences. You know, when we're talking about a mother no longer talking to her daughter and grandchildren and son-in-law, that's a big deal. And it's not a decision to be taken lightly. And it would be remiss of me to tell you one way or the other, oh yeah, you need to disassociate. Oh yeah, you need to fade. It's not my life. I'm not the one who has to deal with the fallout from it. So all I can do is say, in our own case, you talk about us successfully fading as a family. We didn't successfully fade. We tried fading for a while and eventually disassociated. I guess some would call that a successful fade, but in my view, a successful fade is when you stop attending meetings and maybe move congregations either once or a few times to the point where you're just no longer on their radar anymore and they can't monitor what you're doing, and you can act as though you're disfellowshipped and disassociated without anyone hunting you down and starting judicial action against you. That's my idea of a successful fade. And in that context, we haven't faded. We just quit. So our daughter was on the way, Jessica, and we both realized, I'd already by that point decided I wanted out, but especially when Jessica was on the way, it was a case of, now things are serious. We cannot possibly stay in this religion because our believing Jehovah's Witness relatives will seize on any opportunity to indoctrinate our child unless we draw a line in the sand and say, we're no longer Jehovah's Witnesses. So that was what prompted our decision, it seems like you're every bit as adamant as we were. So it sounds like you are disgusted by this organization, having seen, in your case, firsthand how things get done in terms of the mishandling of child sexual abuse. Who can blame you, you know? So I definitely identify with your indignation, with your contempt for the organization and your desire to not want to have anything more to do with it. It seems that key to the whole decision is the announcement, because when you're announced as disassociated, the announcement, let's say your name is Hazel. It isn't. You're anonymous. But let's say your name is Hazel. The announcement would be Hazel is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. If you're disassociated, and Hazel is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses if you're disfellowshipped. So in the mind of the congregation, it's one and the same. You may as well be someone who's done something really, really wrong. And I can sort of understand why that would be an issue for you, but at the same time, why does it matter what they think? You know? They're not in your life. It sounds like they're already shunning you. Sounds like the only one who's not shunning you is pretty much your mother. And your mother knows what the situation is. Surely, if anyone matters in that congregation, it's your mother. And as long as she knows what the situation is, speaking personally, and again, this isn't telling you what to do, but speaking personally, I really wouldn't care, quite honestly. What a bunch of people who are shunning me, what conclusions they reach about whether I'm a good person or not. It just doesn't bother me. Say what you want, you know. You can read out from the platform, Lloyd Evans is now feasting at the table of demons and he eats babies and whatever. I don't care. Form your own conclusions, folks. But I understand everyone approaches this differently. I think the main consideration, if I were in your shoes, would not be what the congregation thinks or how it gets announced. It would be the relationship with your mother. And, you know, relationships are important. It's all very well saying, well, she would shun me, so if that's her attitude, then I'm going to walk. And broadly speaking, you know, my advice on this channel is your family are those who love you unconditionally, without strings attached, and will be there for you no matter what. But I'm not in your shoes. This is your life. These are your relationships. And when it comes to extremely personal decisions and dilemmas, such as the one that you face, you have to make the call. I can only say that in my own case, when I was threatened with shunning by my father if I disassociated, and I went ahead with it anyway, in my own case, I haven't looked back. It's a painful thing to go through, disassociating, but as I've said before, it's a bit like childbirth. It's painful, so I'm told. It's painful, but the end product is beautiful. That's how I look at disassociation. It's an incredibly painful process to go through because there's all sorts of pushback. There are reactions from believing friends. Oh, how could you do this? We thought so highly of you. How could you leave Jehovah? All of this guilt tripping, all of this manipulation. It's a really fraught experience to go through. And I think back to when I went through that experience, it was hell for, I'm going to say, a few weeks. But would I do it again? In a heartbeat? That's all I can say. When I went through this experience, it was painful, but the end product was infinitely worth it. And I would do it again and again and again and again. It was a dilemma. It was a decision that needed to be made, but we made the right decision, unquestionably. So you just have to make the right decision, whatever that decision is, because the last thing you want is to be years down the road and think, well, we screwed that up, we should have done this instead. So just give it careful thought, not prayerful thought, careful thought as a family as to what you want to do. What are your objectives? Where do you want to be? Are things working for you as they are now, or do things need to change? And again, these are decisions that only you can make. But all I can say is congratulations for making it out. You've done something extremely difficult that the vast majority of Jehovah's Witnesses cannot bring themselves to do. You have found mental freedom. It's incredibly precious. Hold on to it and cherish it always, and tell your kids to hold on to it too, and pass it on to their kids if they have any. And again, well done for doing the right thing and reporting your stepdaughter's abuser. So I hope some or all of what I've said there is helpful for you. Viewers, if you would like to leave a message, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message. But that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching.